My name is Michele Roberts. I'm the Academic Director at AGSM, the Australian Graduate School of Management, and Associate Dean at the University of New South Wales Sydney Business School. At AGSM, we're one of the oldest MBA schools in the world, one of the largest MBA schools in the world. We have an executive MBA, an online MBA, MBAX, which is ranked 4th in the world in the Financial Times online MBA rankings. And we have a full-time MBA. And the full-time MBA is a 1-year program. It was 1.5 years. And we love to listen to our students really carefully, and they felt that after 1 term of electives that they were ready to go back to work. So we removed 1 term of electives and managed to shorten it to 12 months. But it's still a full program with all of the other benefits in 12 months. It's also the only MBA program in the world, the only 1-year MBA program in the world that includes international exchange. So you really can have it all in just 1 year and transform your life. And the program starts once a year on the 1st of May. It's a small, carefully curated cohort of 50 to 60 people. And it's got a wonderful careers support running through it, and lots of electives to choose from. And that final electives term, as I mentioned, can be done overseas. The students that come to us are some of the most diverse students in the world. We travel around the world reaching out to people. Wherever you are, we want you if you are diverse and inclusive leaders. So we're really looking for people who are more sustainable leaders, who want to build a better, more diverse, more sustainable world. They tend to be slightly older than US and European programs. We have an average of 9 years work experience at the start of the program. And we just got ranked #1 in the world in the Financial Times Global MBA ranking for sector diversity. So we really carefully curate and find people from the largest number of industry sectors and the largest number of countries. And we're very strong on gender diversity too. We're at 46% for this year's cohort, and I'm looking hard for that final few percent to get gender equality in the program. So when we talk about inclusion at AGSM, we're talking about finding good leaders wherever they are. So we look for leaders from diverse backgrounds. And for example, we look for leaders from the military, from elite athletes. But we also look for leaders throughout the world. So we look for leaders in regions that might be underrepresented in traditional MBA programs. So particularly the developing world, Africa, for example. And we use our scholarships to facilitate candidates from those backgrounds. But we also have a large number of scholarships for representatives of the LGBTIQ+ community, and for women, of course. When we talk about inclusive leadership, at AGSM we're very focused on building a more sustainable world. And for us that means as we transition to clean energy, as we reinvent the economy, it has to be more inclusive. We have to get it right. If we're going to come up with a new economy, with new business models, with new value chains, they have to be more inclusive this time. And the developing world, the developing economies must benefit in this transition. So we focus on inclusivity in a multidimensional way. Even in our orientation program and foundations program, you'll be welcomed by First Nations people. You'll have training in your 3-week foundations program. We include training in diversity. You'll do ally training to be a strong ally for members of the LGBTIQ+ community. You'll have First Nations cultural training. And we make sure that our leaders understand they understand what best practice looks like in inclusivity. So this is a really great question. Can you be do you have to come to AGSM as someone who is passionate about inclusion and sustainability? And to some extent that's not entirely the case. We do find that there are people who they're interested in sustainability, but they haven't had a lot of experience in it. They might be interested in inclusivity, but they haven't been in environments that championed it yet. And so at AGSM, we're all on a journey, and we're all learning all the time how to be more inclusive, how to be more sustainable. So if it's something that really appeals to you, if you want to be a purpose-driven leader, if you want to care about something more than just making money, AGSM's a wonderful school for you to come to, but you don't have to be an expert in this to come and join us. We are inclusive to everyone wherever they are on their journey. So Sydney itself is a very inclusive place to live and have your career. You might know that Sydney is the home of World Pride this year, and AGSM is a sponsor of World Pride. But even beyond World Pride, the organisations that we partner with all year are organisations that are seeking to find leaders who are more inclusive. And it's certainly a very diverse community here in Sydney. I think one of the examples of that is if you look at the way Australia treats its international students, it is very supportive of international students. We have some of the most generous visa arrangements for international students in the world. So if you complete AGSM's extension program, we have a 1-year full-time MBA and then a 1-year extension. If you complete extension, which is 2 years, so that's 2 years in total, on completion of your 2 years at AGSM, you have access to a 5-year post-study work visa. So you get to remain in Australia and work for 5 years, leading into permanent residency. So that's kind of an example, I think, of how welcoming Australia is to international students. And of course, it's a very safe and lovely place to live. In terms of the breakdown of the AGSM full-time cohort, we usually have 50% Aussies and then 50% international students. So it is unusual in having so many local students, but it's that 1-year program's incredibly appealing to people that just want to hit pause on their work and then get through that MBA with all of the added extras that you get in a full-time MBA program, and then get back into work within 12 months. There are many things that I think are different about AGSM and very special about AGSM. One of the things that's different is with our international students, most of them never leave. So it's perhaps a little unusual that most international students who come to Sydney never leave Sydney, because it's Sydney, right? And so it is pretty hard to leave once you get here. I came from the UK and I worked in London, Melbourne, Perth and Sydney. And I meant to keep travelling, but it's hard to leave Sydney. The biggest recruiters from AGSM's MBA program are the consulting firms. McKinsey, Bain, BCG, LEK, Strategy, and these are the big employers in the program. The second biggest sector is tech, of course. Sydney is one of the global tech hubs. And it's also, Sydney's the startup capital of Australia, and we have a lot of unicorns here in Sydney, and we're perfectly positioned with that gateway into Asia. So a lot of our students leave for consulting, but a lot will go into tech or into sort of scale-ups, is somewhere that the students tend to target. We do get a lot of students join AGSM wanting to be founders, and our university is, it has a very extensive entrepreneurial stack across campus. We recruit more successful, we graduate more successful founders than any other Australian university. And so we do get a lot of students join us because they want to be a founder. And indeed we offer support to founders for life as an alum. And there are a number of competitions and ways of accessing funding and mentorship and support as a founder in our program. Australians are definitely different in their approach, and I say that as someone that came from the UK and worked in London for many years in industry. It's definitely more relaxed and fun. So Australians prioritize lifestyle, and that does come through. We have a lot of international partners, so we're always welcoming exchange students from the US in particular, Kellogg, Chicago Booth, NYU Stern, and those students will say to me, you know, it's so relaxed over here, I wonder if I would pursue my career at the same pace. But funnily, we like to point out to them that Australia ranks equal to, sometimes higher than the US in productivity. So we might look like we're really relaxed, but you know, the secret is in that ability to let go. But Aussies do really prioritize that need to get out in the evenings. And for example, my son is at McKinsey, in the Sydney office of McKinsey, or he's just moved to the Amsterdam office, but he was in the Sydney office of McKinsey, and he lived on Bondi Beach and surfed every day. So you do tend to, you can see on Bondi Beach lots of people at 4:30 running down to catch the waves, and that's important to Australians. So I think a sense of being fun and relaxed is important, not taking yourself too seriously. Australians are very humble, so they tend not to like people pushing themselves a lot. They tend to just value you being warm and inclusive and welcoming and humble. So what is different about the AGSM experience? I think there's a number of things. Firstly, it is a very small, intimate cohort of only 50 to 60 people. So one of my students told me last week it's like getting married. But you know, because everyone has been sort of hand-picked, another student said it's like walking into a room at a party where you meet a really interesting person that you want to talk to, but everyone in the cohort's like that because they've all been chosen quite carefully for who they are and what they bring to that wonderful cohort experience. So it's incredibly personal. And you'll sense that right from the get-go in the admissions process. It is very, very personal, and it remains like that throughout the entire program. And people keep in touch, you know, whenever they travel, they check in, and so it is that intimate cohort. Another aspect of the AGSM experience that is very different and remarkable is the international course experience. And again, we've been ranked within the top 10 programs in the world for that repeatedly. And that's really because probably 70% of our students will go on international exchange for a third of their MBA. So you're joining an Australian program with that proximity in Asia, with all of the benefits that brings, but you're doing a third of your program in the US, or Europe, or in another part of Asia. So you're getting to do the AGSM program, but you're also getting to go to Chicago Booth or Kellogg, NYU Stern, London Business School, or you know, NUS or HKUST. So it's a very, very international experience that you can have. But we're also a member of the Global Network for Advanced Management, which Yale University run. And almost every student in the program would do a Global Network week. Many of them do 2 Global Network weeks. So that means that you jet off for a week and you get an elective done at Oxford University or Yale University or UC Berkeley. And it's a fun week with lots of social, cultural experiences. Or you can do our Global Network week, and then you get to host all of the incoming students, which is fun. So I think that international exposure is the second piece that's very special. And I think the third thing is our focus on sustainability. For the last 3 years, we've been embedding sustainability throughout the whole program. So we began by creating a pre-MBA primer on sustainability and how we can transition to a more sustainable economy. And then we began by writing a primer at the beginning of every course at AGSM. So when you're learning finance, it begins by learning about sustainable finance. When you're studying marketing, it begins by talking about sustainable marketing. What does it even mean to grow sustainably? Are there limits on consumption? How can we get consumers to consume more sustainably? So it begins with sustainability before we learn anything else in each of our courses. And we also have an option for our full-time students to go through to a final portfolio and viva. And if they succeed, if they pass that viva, they become Fellows of Responsible Management and get the postnominals FRM. So sustainability is that third piece that feels, it feels ever present and very powerful and unifying at AGSM. I think we've done a lot of work on trying to build leaders who have a purpose and a sense of purpose, and we focus on that from the outset. We help people to find their purpose. We help them to find what they love, and we help them to build that into their life. So I think that you can find that to some extent. And it's something that is very rewarding at AGSM. When I came out of industry into MBA programs, it did feel like you could be a fantastic leader with a very successful career and all the rewards of career success, while generating no value for the community and no value whatsoever for society. Indeed, you could do whatever you liked to the community and to the society and to the planet and be incredibly successful in your career. And we really wanted to create a different kind of leader where you would only succeed by also creating value for the society and the planet. And I think that leaders emerging from AGSM have that sense of balance, that need to build strong career, but also strong society and planet. So I think you can sense that in the leaders that we graduate at AGSM.